from the ground to the vehicle itself using the storage batteries.
2 minutes, I think.
2 minutes out.
Yeah, I heard that. It's 2 minutes. Yeah, we're watching this
There are
Long
also
March 5B. I think that's for 335 meter diameter boosters.
Yeah.
Tell us more about that booster.
the booster, as you mentioned, the booster has a diameter of 3.35 meters using liquid oxygen and kerosene as the propellant,
okay.
and each have a thrust of.
Oh, I thought it was
two,
a solid. I used to thought it was.
No, it's not solid. It's
not
liquid,
solid.
liquid
So
rockets.
liquid fuels.
And
All right.
So that was using the liquid oxygen, right?
the
fuel?
cross stage use liquid oxygen.
Okay,
Yeah.
we're seeing the countdown clock there.
Yeah. So everybody's watching that. So.
各位注意，1分钟准备。
All right, T minus 60 seconds, 1 minute prior to liftoff. Truly an incredible moment to witness.
Well, I'm getting nervous right now.
Yeah.
There are also cameras on the rotational arms to monitor the disconnection of the plugs.
And
Right.
ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us, you're watching the live feed coming out from the Wenchang Spacecraft Launch Center. China is about to launch the core module of its Tianhe space station 40 seconds out. The Tianhe core module is on board that rocket you're looking at, the most powerful heavy lift rocket, the Long March 5B rocket, 30 seconds out. 29 years after China's manned space program was envisioned, the first module of the space station is finally being launched to space. Less than 20 seconds out. What an extraordinary moment. All right. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Engine ignition.
All right, lift off.
And liftoff. What an incredible view. That is the sound of history. A historic space flight carrying the Tianhe module, the core module of China's space station. That itself is history in the making, a major milestone of China's space program with the ambition to explore deep space. Not even gravity contains humanity now. And Dr. Yang, we are looking at the view of the side boosters, aren't
Exactly.
we?
Yeah.
This is a camera mounted on the core stage. You can see it's looking downward. We can see that the two of the four boosters
So
and
we
also
are
the flames.
looking down at the tail of the rocket, right?
How did they install that camera on that?
This is a very small camera mounted on the surface of the core module. So it does not influence the shape, the total shape of the vehicle, and also don't have the
Right.
aerodynamic influence.
And keep in mind the Long March 5B has 4 strap-on boosters like this. You are looking at 2 out of the 4, and they
Yes.
run on liquid fuels. And in the
That's
next
right.
few minutes, these boosters will detach and fall away after propellant is burned up. All right, 69 seconds into the flight, everything looks to be going good. The
Yep.
core stage will continue to burn after these boosters detach. And in the next few minutes, we're going to see some major steps, are we? Mr. Xu.
Look,
Yes, I think the separation of the booster will be the first thing you will see, even visible with your naked eye. So the strap-on booster provided more than 90% of the propulsion
All right.
as of this moment. So once it's in the outer atmosphere, about 100 kilometers off the ground, you'll see the fairing also will be separated and deployed.
And we're seeing this
Deployed.
3D animation
Animation, right.
on the
And-
right of your screen, right? And you can see the rocket has pitched over a bit.
Yeah.
Originally, the rocket is shooting up vertically, but eventually it will fly in orbit, so it's going to take a turn in direction. right,
Horizon,
Dr.
They're
Yang?
rotating and turning slightly, and now it's heading to the orbit.
southeastward.
Okay.
And you can see that bright orange flame
So
out
they
of the
started.
nozzle.
Yeah, it started with the vertical flying,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
it would turn.
So
little bit.
the pitch over is the first operation after liftoff is already being successfully completed. And as Yansong has mentioned, the next step will be the separation of the 4 boosters just 3 minutes after the liftoff.
All right, that's the major event coming up, booster separation.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Why is this critical to this flight, Dr. Yang?
Because separation is always very dangerous. There are influence of the aerodynamic forces, and also the separation itself has some shock and vibration to the instruments.
And speaking of that, when are we going to hit max Q, and when is the rocket supersonic?
Yes, actually speaking, at this moment is already
All
supersonic.
right, that is the engine shut off, booster separation.
Great.
You can hear the
Booster cut off.
cheering and the applause from command center. Looks like we've got a good separation.
We got a good
good
start.
separation.
It's a good start.
All right.
So you
now
can
it's
see.
just the core stage. It's flying.
So you can see also this
Is
is
that the ellipse of
camera.
Earth?
Oh, this is inside the payload fairing.
Okay, so
Okay.
next up is
And that's the core
payload
module.
fairing
Jettisoning.
separation. Okay.
Okay, that is the core module that we're watching at.
We can see there are some lights inside the payload fairing. And also, you see on the right of the window, the screen is the 3D animation. This 3D animation is based on the real date downloaded from the vehicle, the position, the attitude, and the condition of the engines.
So that was actually based on
great.
light telemetry. Oh,
The
great
fairing is-
fairing jettison.
It
Another round of applause.
It's ejected.
A good separation again. And you are watching at the dotted yellow lines, right? What are they? These are data links from ground
Yes,
tracking
that shows
stations, isn't it?
in which station is connected to the vehicle, either uplink or downlink. So you see, we have stations in our Xisha Islands, and also we have the space tracking ships in the Pacific Ocean.
And now the Tianhe core module is actually exposed in space, right?
That's right.
Is that what we're looking at the left side of the screen?
Yes,
After the fairing jettison.
So this is the camera mounted also on the core stage and looking forward, not like the last camera we mentioned. So you can see part of the space station.
Mr. Xu, it's very interesting to see that because the Long March 5B is the single stage rocket. It's not like the Long March 5. And in the previous mission, we can saw this the rocket is just to throw away the stage 1 and stage 2 and just to have a very smaller parts to enter that space and enter that orbit. But in this case, the Long March 5B, there's going to be a huge core stage flying in the outer space.
Yes, it's going to be a single burn. I think
Yeah.
once you have the separation of the strap-on booster by the pyrotechnics, we also have the separation of the fairing. So now it's flying right into the direction and the altitude it requires. So once the engine shut down, it will have a small adjustment to the appropriate inclinations and orbit, and it will be a separation of the core stage with the Tianhe. So once that is happened, it means the success of this mission, of this launching phase.
And
Right,
you're,
and I think it's going to be more complicated than the multiple stage rocket because you got a bigger stage, you got a main engine that creates 140 tons of thrust, and you stop them suddenly. It's like I think it's like the high-speed train have an emergency stop. Can they just get into this orbit properly?
You just
On the
mentioned a very
contrary.
important fact. Because you see that Long March 5B is the only rocket in the world that only have a 1.5 stage to come into orbit. So there are many great challenges. For instance, as you mentioned, we use the two YF-77 rocket engines in this core stage, which have a thrust of 50 tons. That means that the total thrust of the core stage is 100 tons. It's very big for when it is shut down to come into the orbit. Because you see that we have very strict requirement in the accuracy of the orbit. Well, for this accuracy, the smaller the thrust is, it will be easier. But you see that the thrust is rather big. And at this moment of the shutdown, the core stage, the tank is almost empty. So it is very difficult for us to keep the accuracy. That is a great challenge when we developing this Long March 5B launch vehicle.
that is
Yeah.
really an extraordinary view. I think that's the Earth on the left side
Yes.
we're seeing, right? That bright light you're watching now. And the rocket is flying over the Pacific Ocean, right? It's actually flying eastwards,
Southeastwards.
southeastward. So it's
Because
not flying.
the inclination of the orbit will be 41 to 42 degrees, while the latitude of the Wenchang Satellite Launch Center is 19 degrees. So we need the direction we call the launch azimuth. Launch azimuth is going to the southeastwards.
450 seconds into
Yeah,
the flight.
Mr. Xu, I think we're expected to see the next stage, probably to cut off the main engine. Am I right?
Yes, shutdown of the main engine and the separation. So, but once we reach that altitude and velocity, we will have that happen. So this liquid kerosene and liquid hydrogen oxygen engine will continue to burn, and it will have a very high efficiency once in outer space, unlike in atmosphere. So the advantage of hydrogen and oxygen engine will be fully displayed in outer space.
Did
think
we
we cut
heard
off.
the engine cut off?
The engine has been cut off.
Spacecraft separation.
Wait.
Separation is ongoing, and
A perfect view. This is the
Video
Tianhe
from
core
the
module
end
you're
stage.
seeing.
Right.
This is a video from the core stage of Long March 5B. And you can see from the screen on the left side is the Earth, so bright because it is
Wow.
under the sunshine.
wow.
Wow, a good spacecraft separation. Tianhe core module now is flying by itself in orbit.
Way to go.
It's already in the initial orbit. Theoretically speaking, the perigee should be about 170 kilometers, and the apogee should be about nearly 400 kilometers.
Wow, you can see quite a
People are-
relief
people are
for the launch
celebrating
team.
that. Yeah, it's a very excited day.
They have worked years and years on it. I've seen some interview from the Launchpad team. They're saying that it feels like this Tianhe core module is like their child. So this launch just feels like really sending off your child. They are excited for it, but they are, they feel kind of sad. It's a mixed feeling, sad to let go.
They
but
spent
also,
decades on
yeah.
working for that.
So you can see the
How
3D.
long have they started this project?
You mean the whole manned space program?
Yeah, this.
We just started the manned space program since 1992. It is called 921
921
project. So because of this data, you can see from the 3D animation, now the vehicle, the station is on itself. The Long March 5B has already completed its task. And the station must first stable itself because the separation may brought some disturbance or perturbation to the attitude of the vehicle. So it must use its rocket engine to make it stable. And then will be the deployment of the large-sized antenna, because you see that there are high-speed transmissions of signals to the data relay satellite. We must deploy the antenna first, and then will be the unfolding of the solar panels.
And that's going to happen
Wow,
in
that's Earth.
in about 50 minutes time?
Yes.
That is Earth. That is Earth. That's a great
Earth.
view.
That's Earth. Wow.
So what are we, still talk to us about what are we expected to see. You talked about antenna deployment. Why is that taking so long to deploy this?
You see that before this, as I mentioned, we must keep the station stable. Usually the rocket itself, the separation is very slight, but there still have some disturbance, maybe several degrees per second. So after separation, the propulsion system of the station will start and use the small engines to reduce the angular velocity to a very low level. So at this moment, we can call that we have set up the attitude of the vehicle. And then we'll check some critical subsystem, for instance, such as the TTNC, such as the power supply and other critical system. And then will be the deployment, as I mentioned, the antenna. This is the preparation for the future to set up a high-speed data link between the station and the data relay satellite.
Mr. Xu, I think we're watching this Tianhe core module.